And Douglas, just when some may have thought things couldn't get any worse for Brazil, this week have been very tense. Talk us through the past 7 days.
Yeah, things have gotten worse, Laura, just when you thought things couldn't get worse. Look, I mean, you gave the broad outlines here. Brazil is right now perhaps being hit harder by COVID, the COVID surge, than any other country in the world. And at the current rate right now, you mentioned this week nearly 4,000 deaths in a single day, obviously a record for Brazil. It is on track perhaps to even leapfrog and overtake the United States in the total number of deaths in the world for any single country from COVID. So about 320,000 Brazilians have died to date from this pandemic. And it's really a man-made disaster, health emergency, because while you could say COVID took the world by surprise, came out of nowhere, the botching of this, the handling of this pandemic has really been pinned on the far-right President Jair Bolsonaro. So COVID is right now escalating. Brazil's hospitals, public health systems stretched to the breaking point, if not already there. And then you have on top of that, like you said, the resignation all at once, one fell swoop of both the Army, Navy, and Air Force heads of those armed forces branches, all this week at the same time in apparent protest at the sacking the day before by Bolsonaro of his defense minister. So, you know, and on top of that, his foreign minister had left the same day, 5 other cabinet ministers. So you have a political meltdown. You have a public health emergency that Brazil's former president, Lula, basically called the biggest genocide. He used the word genocide in Brazil's history. And let's just add one more. You could see that perhaps a graph of the timeline on your screens right now. You have the opposition growing calls for the impeachment of Bolsonaro, his removal. 5 of those motions for impeachment have already been rejected by the lower house of Brazil's parliament. However, dozens more remain to be looked at. So this is a man under political fire, facing a health emergency that he has mocked and derided and done nothing really to try to rein in. Just the opposite, has lambasted local mayors and governors who have tried to take measures to lock down or safety measures for their populations. So it is a crisis in every sense of the word in Brazil on all fronts.
So, Doug, does it look like Bolsonaro can ride out these multiple crises?
Look, he's very resilient, and let's not forget he got elected, right? He, far-right president. He did have a popular base of support, and one of the fears with these impeachment motions is that they could provoke a backlash. If the parliament tries to impeach him, his base of support is such that perhaps militias, elements of the police, rank-and-file soldiers, he's still popular among them as well. So while a lot of the outside world looks in at Bolsonaro and thinks, how could he possibly still be in power? He does have bases, a core of support in Brazil that make him still quite dangerous. But that said, his disapproval ratings have been steadily on the increase. And right now, more than half the population, according to a Brazilian pollster, 54% say he has botched the handling of the COVID pandemic. They disapprove of his handling of the pandemic. And what's he doing with the military right now? The resignation of these military leaders. A lot of people fear, this is a country that was under military dictatorship for decades until 1985. That's recent memory for a lot of Brazilians, relatively recent. Is he going to try to once again stack his administration with military people, generals and other military people who will support him over Brazil's constitution? So this is a man who a lot of people see as dangerous, but he's also able to cling on. He has a foe coming up on the horizon. Lula is back. Court basically annulled all the corruption charges against him in March, and they said the judge who had convicted him was a biased judge. So Lula could, he hasn't said yet, but could run again as a powerful potential rival to Bolsonaro in the 2022 presidential elections, about a year and a half away. So Bolsonaro on the ropes, but far from out.
Doug, thanks very much indeed. Douglas Herbert there.